Hi. Today I'm going to show you how you can trigger an outbound session in GridSpace from an action done in a ServiceNow application. Now, this we're going to achieve through a webhook trigger. So if I just go into our ServiceNow application, you can see here we have an HR ServiceNow application for employees who are wanting to request time off. Now, usually this time off request is usually sent to the manager over the ServiceNow application, but sometimes the employee might have an urgent time off request. And in those cases, the Grace is going to call up the manager and have him or her approve the request. So if I go in here as an employee to request some time off, I'm going to request some time off from the 12th of January to the 13th of January. So the way I've set this up inside the ServiceNow application is that whenever someone writes urgent inside the reason field, it will trigger the outbound session to the manager because it's an urgent request, and that's only then it will trigger the outbound session, not on a normal request. So it's an urgent request and I need to go to a funeral and I'm going to send my request. Now, after I send it right here, it's going to trigger the webhook, and soon enough, I should receive a call from Grace shortly. And yep, I'm receiving the call right now.
Hi, Sebastian. This is Grace, your ServiceNow HR virtual voice agent. You have received a new time off request from Eric Smith. The time off dates are from January 12, 2025 to January 13, 2025. The reason for the time off request is stated as urgent funeral. Would you like to approve or reject this request?
Approve it.
Sure, I'll go ahead and approve the time off request. The vacation request has been successfully approved. The employee will receive a notification shortly. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.
So as you saw, as the HR virtual voice agent, Grace was able to relay the information from the ServiceNow system sent over the webhook, and then have the manager approve it through phone, and then send that request back to ServiceNow for approval. Now the setup here is actually not too complicated. I'll first show you how you have done this in the GridSpace, and I'll afterwards show you how you have set this up inside the ServiceNow. Now, so in GridSpace, of course, we have our call flow, we have our inlet, our bot, and we also have our playbook. And if we go then into our playbook, you can see it's quite a simple setup. We have our greetings page, which is Hi Manager. We're using the tag from the webhook trigger. And then also we get requested by information, who requested the time of request, start date, the end date, and also the reason for the time of request. And also then we have the approval and reject workflow, which then triggers a connector through ServiceNow, approving it or rejecting it inside the ServiceNow application. Now, how we have done this inside the ServiceNow application is also quite a simple setup. So what we're actually doing here is we are triggering whenever a change or insert is done into the vacation request table or work of time request. Then it's triggering a webhook or a script that is sending out information to GridSpace and then triggering the outbound session. And we're doing this through a business rule inside ServiceNow. I'll show you now how to do this. So now we are inside our ServiceNow application. I'm going to go into search, and we're going to search for business rule. And then we're going to go into the business rule under system definitions. And when you come in here, what we're going to do in our case is we're going to use the global application because it's going to be a global attribute that everybody can get. It's not going to be just application specific. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into here, just click the global application right here in any of the rows. And we're going to switch to this application. So we're going to make this the current application. And then we're going to go back, and then we're going to create a new business rule. Now, as you can see here, our current application we're creating the business rule for is global, which means that every application in our system can get this or use this business rule. Now, you might want to have it for your application-wise, but for ease of use, but also now in our case, you would like it to be global, but be mindful of which application you are putting it on in your ServiceNow instance. We are going to create a new rule. I'm going to call this rule send webhook GridSpace, and the table here we're going to choose the tables. This will be for your application, the tables that's going to trigger this event. So in our case, it's the vacation time of request. Whenever this table is changed, inserted or updated, it's going to trigger the action. And also we're going to click this advance check mark right here because we're going to add a script to it. And also what we're going to do here is we're going to add a condition. Well, you remember we had the urgent condition. We're not going to trigger it every time. That's a bit too much. we want to, whenever so these are the fields inside the table, we're going to choose the reason field, and it's going to, if it contains the word urgent, this then will trigger. So whenever something is inserted or updated and also contains the word urgent, it's going to trigger the script. And then you go into the Actions tab, and here we're also going to set a trigger for something, because sometimes the action or business rule might not run completely, which if you just have a script. So we set arbitrary field like keywords. We're going to set it to time off. And this is going to not really do anything, but it's going to make sure that it's going to trigger properly. So we're setting this field is important as well, because sometimes it doesn't trigger quite well when it just has a script inside the business rule. Then we go into the advanced section, and here you're going to remove this, and you're going to copy in your own script. So this script I will link in the description down below, and this is a script you can use for triggering this webhook. And this is you're sending out an HTTP request, and you're using this endpoint in Gridspace. It's an outbound session endpoint. You can find it in the docs. It's a post request, and here I'll go quickly over some simple things you can change for your own purposes, to how to use this for your own application. So here you can see we have authentication, which we need for the HTTP request, and you have a user and a password. So how you can find this, if you go inside your Gridspace account, and if you go into the account information here in the sidebar, you can see your account ID and your secret key. And these are the two things you're going to use inside here. So your account ID is your account ID, and then your secret key is your secret key from your Gridspace dashboard. And it's going to be set here, so you don't need to change anything like there. And here we have the body. So we also need an inlet node, which is basically the call flow. It's the outbound session it's going to use. And how we find this inlet ID is that we go into the application section here in the Gridspace sidebar, and you go into the call flow inlet. You find your call flow inlet. And basically, this is this phone number I'm using. So I know it's this one. And I'm going to go into it, and I'm going to copy this last number right here. So this last string right here is going to be the ID of your inlet node, and this is going to trigger that specific node. Then here we have the tags we're sending. So here we are. This you're going to set for yourself for your own application. So I have the manager name, which in this case it's the default Sebastian. I'm the manager, so I'm just going to put it as a string there. It's not going to be dynamic. And then we have our start date, end date, time of request by. And so what we're doing here is we're getting the current value of one of the columns. So this is going to be start date, end date, time of reason. These are the column names in the table. And we're getting this display value. This is important. So this is how you write it up. And this you can customize for your own setup. And then we are also having the callback info, which is important, which is the phone numbers. This is the phone number of the manager, or whatever phone number you would like to get, but this is important to have, because if there's no phone number, then Grace doesn't know who to call up. Then we are finishing up the script here and sending it out to Gridspace and triggering outbound session to, in this case, the manager. Now, once you're done setting it up, you also want to make sure that it's an active rule. It's set to active, so it's running, and then you submit the business rule. And that is how you create an outbound session from an action done in a ServiceNow application. Now, if you have any questions about this flow, feel free to leave a comment below. We'll answer any questions you have there. And also you can send us a mail at inquiries@gridspace.com if you would like help me with setting up a flow like this yourself. If you would like to check out more demos, you can go into gridspace.com and check those out and test out Grace for yourself. All right. Thank you for watching.